Hello everyone, I'm Taiyo Sketches. In this video, I want to teach you how to add that oomph to your art. So, I want you to take a look at this illustration of Cali and Rever Room. It's pretty vibrant, and it has this kind of energy to it, doesn't it? Honestly, it turned out to be some of my favorite pieces. But here's the thing, I kinda got stuck while I was working on this. And this was when it happened. At this point, I was thinking to myself like, damn, it's not working out. And for a while, I didn't know how to move beyond this stage. I'm sure you can kind of relate to this feeling. So, I wanted to teach you today how to get past this roadblock. So here are the steps. 1. Use color to your advantage. 2. Increase the density. 3. Focus on the movement. I'll explain each of them one by one. 1. Use color to your advantage. So when I began drawing this, I was honestly feeling amazing. The rough felt energetic, there was this kind of fun perspective, and I thought it had a lot of potential. But it was right after I finished the line art and the colors that I realized the line art kind of feels weak, and the colors look bland. What can I possibly do from here that'll make it look a little bit better, right? Well, here's what I think is the quickest fix. Use the colors to your advantage. Try thinking about what color you want as your drawing's first impression. For my piece, you can tell that it's kind of purple. You look at it and it's a purple drawing. And I chose this because Cali's color scheme is like kind of reddish, and I thought it'd work well together. Then I began using the colors that were close to purple to build my whole drawing. You can tell that once I started applying this to my art, the whole piece just started coming together. Using a wide range of colors really isn't bad, but it can be the reason why you're feeling a little bit stuck. So even though trees might be green and the sky might be blue, you're the artist here, and you can choose what colors you want to use. So take advantage of that, and try sticking to a color scheme. 2. Increase the density. Alright, the foundation is finally done. Now it's time to build the oomph upon it. For a drawing to convey power and energy, you really need to increase its density. And here's what I mean. At this point, the colors are working really well together, but it looks a little too simple. Like, when I look at it, I think to myself, like, is this all? Is this actually it? And this is where you have to begin using different colors to add detail. And this allows you to increase the information density of your art. Gradients are a powerful tool here. By applying a gradient to a large block of flat color, you can convey depth. See? The towers in the back, they look a lot more 3D after I begin adding the gradient. Detail brushes like the splatter paintbrush I'm using here can also add subtle complexity to surfaces that look a little bit lonely. All I'm doing is tapping the screen a couple times, but the Rever Room's metal body is looking a lot more metal and realistic, doesn't it? There's a famous quote that goes, "Imperfection is the digital perfection," or something like that. I don't remember who said it, and I don't remember the exact quote, but it goes something like that. And adding detail is basically exactly this. You're adding imperfection into your drawing. And finally, white is probably the most powerful tool that you can use. Using it will allow you to increase information density really easily with small details, because it just sticks out so much against a dark background. But as a tip, you should not go too far with this step. This step is kind of like adding spices into a dish. It's the final touch that you put on something that's already delicious, but a little bit bland. But if you do put way too much spices on this dish, you can't even tell what the dish was supposed to be anymore. The flavor becomes way too overwhelming. See what happens when I add a bunch of white to my drawing. Like, that's just way too much. So, this step takes a lot of taste testing. Every time you add something, you have to make sure you didn't go too far. 3. Focus on the movement. This last step is a little bit more advanced than the last two steps, so whether you use it or not is honestly up to you. But if you master it, I assure you, it is a powerful weapon. You might notice that when I was feeling stuck, the drawing looked like a still picture, with Kelly relaxing on top of a stationary revel room. Of course, if that's what you want to convey, that's totally alright. But what I wanted to emphasize was the revel room's size and its power, as well as the sound of Kelly's music. So, it was time for me to add movement. The way to do this is deceivingly simple. All you need to do is to add a couple straight lines to show which direction the image should be moving. Here I inserted a couple red lines for this exact purpose. But you might notice that the revel room isn't moving in that direction, right? Then what do they convey? I use these lines here not to emphasize the physical movement, but the spatial movement, the expansiveness of the revel room's size. Now it's getting fun, isn't it? Then I decided that I wanted the little lights on the revel room to basically be shooting beams. I actually asked someone what I should do with the lights because they were looking a little bit too stationary, if that makes sense. When I asked them this, the response was simple, but honestly, kinda clever. I don't know, make it shoot lasers? The functions of the lasers is this. It moves your eyes away from the lights themselves. At first, they were just like circles sitting in the middle of the illustration, and that drew way too much attention. It was like a fly sitting on a white wall. Like, you can't look at any other part of the wall because there's a fly in the middle, and your eye is just like so drawn towards it. But by adding the lasers, what I basically did was break up the lights by using particle effects and lasers that guide your eye back to the actual focus of the image, being Kelly and revel room. Then finally there's the flame at the bottom, and this one actually does convey the movement of the revel room. I also added the skidding particles on the revel room's tires to emphasize this, and now it looks like the revel room is really zooming in towards the camera. This was my final touch to add oomph to my drawing. And there we go. Those were the steps to adding oomph to your illustration. If you ever feel stuck while building your illustration, it might be these 3 steps that you're missing. But of course, these 3 steps aren't the only way to bring your illustration to a finish. It can depend on the style, purpose, and content of the work. So go out and discover a bunch of different ways that can convey the oomph you want. That's kind of the fun part about art. You get to discover things and you get to do the things that you want. So, I totally encourage it. Anyway, I hope this tutorial was helpful. See you again in the next video.